Hello everyone, welcome to Recursive Gaming. In this video, I'm going to discuss what I think is the best leveling priority for your team. The beginning of the video contains a full explanation of the logic justifying my statements, but if all you care about is the step-by-step details, then use the timestamps below to navigate to that section. At the end of the video, I give the detailed step-by-step hero priority leveling breakdown. So, let's get started. Tip number 1. Easy story mode is easy. By the time you finish the easy story mode, your core 4-person team, and perhaps even your core 8-person team, will be max leveled up to their current transcendence level, and you will have some decent gear. At this point, you might think your team is strong, having easily finished the last few bosses in easy mode. However, your team is not as strong as you think. Tip number 2. Normal story mode is when you begin to realize that you might have chosen the wrong heroes to make your core 4-person story mode team. You're probably asking me, you can clear story mode using almost any decent team, right? So why then are you saying we might have wasted time on the wrong heroes? I even chose my legendary heroes. Come on, how could that be wrong? Well, just stay with me for a minute and I'll show you. Tip number 3. Suppression abilities and resistance abilities. By now, the game should have shown you how to use specific abilities on specific heroes to counter different bosses. Well, here's the biggest tip in this video. It wasn't a suggestion, it's a requirement. Can you power through bosses without using those heroes to counter boss mechanics? Sure, but the fights will be a lot harder. They will require a much higher combat power and much better manual play than if you simply used the heroes they designed for the specific purpose of countering those boss abilities. Tip number 4. You need to build every hero for account combat power anyways. The thing is, to progress your account CP quest and get those sweet legendary rewards, you're going to build every hero for their CP contribution. This means you'll eventually put your time into those heroes with suppression and resistance abilities. Why make the game harder for yourself, struggling to progress simply because you want to use your favorite heroes when you could be leveling them in a slightly different order, and the game is easier, you make faster progress, and you end up enjoying the game more. The whole point of this video is this. Choose a core team of heroes, 8 heroes, so you can make progress in the 8-hero raid, the Dimensional Rift, and make sure you're using the suppression and resistance heroes you need to make easier progress against the raid bosses. You only need to beat them once after all. And after that, you can simply clear the battles. Watch this. Single battle. When you do a single battle, I just finished this today. When you do a single battle, you take your 4-person team. So once you've beat it, I can just clear it. Every single day I do my dailies, I can clear this battle, and it doesn't matter who I have in my team. So you only need to use those correct suppression and resistance abilities on the right heroes once to clear it, and after that, or to, complete it, and after that you can just clear it. This means you can shuffle your best gear off of those heroes with the suppression and resistance abilities and onto someone else to clear the next raid boss and then the next, and so on. Therefore, you can use this method. Tip number 6. And here we come to the detailed step-by-step hero leveling priority guide. First, build Lyn and Magical Engineer Gillahan. To clear the first raid boss, Pirate King Gigantus, you need Gillahan for his burn resistance, and Lyn for her suppression ability. There's just a quick note. The rare version of Lyn, Elena's Sword, and the common version of Lyn, Daybreak Hope, both have the same suppression ability. So focus on the rare version if you have her. It doesn't hurt that she is one of the best rare heroes in the game for improving your PvE team's boss damage. For the second raid, Daybreak Exodus against Destroyer Commander Varian, you'll want to build you'll want to build Recluse Rudy and Sadist Henry. To clear this raid boss, you need Recluse Rudy for his suppression ability, Insight, and Sadist Henry for his paralysis resistance. To beat the third raid boss in the Queen's Palace against Queen Lizardia, build Alchemist Ian and either Roar of the Wild Iota or Phoenix Incarnate Rachel. To clear this third raid boss, you need Ian's poison resistance and either Iota or Rachel's suppression ability. Counter. I managed to get Rachel for free from the account CP quest rewards before I had even finished normal story mode. So there is an argument to be made for not building Iota if you have her, but just waiting until you get Rachel instead, because Rachel will be much more beneficial for your team at endgame than Iota. Fourth, you should build, Royal Blood Adel and Shadow Sword Shane or Nestra's Disciple Shane. The Legendary Plus version of Shane is a free reward once your account CP is over 2 million, but that will take so long. Waiting for that reward will severely handicap you while fighting the fourth raid boss. So you should definitely build the rare version of Shane that they give you for free. That being said, it's not a bad idea to hold back on spending extremely valuable resources on the rare version of Shane, and instead using them on the better version once you eventually get her. So the Shane is for the suppression ability, imprisonment, and the Royal Blood Adele is for the freeze resistance. So, if you build a suppression hero and a resistance hero to counter every raid boss, that's 8 heroes, which completes your minimum required core PvE team for the 8 hero raid boss, the Dimensional Rift. In that party of 8 heroes, you have 6 frontliners mixed between universal heroes, DPS heroes, and tanks. The 2 ranged heroes is 1 support with unreliable healing and an extremely good ranged damage dealer that lands stacking poisons, which is great against enemy bosses. This team will be good enough to get you through the first 2 levels of the 8 hero raid boss. However, beyond that, you will need at least 1 good healer. Right now, they are giving away Karen for free on the 7th day. And she will be everyone's best healer. Hold on. Here she is right here. On day 7, you get Karen for free. But until then, and perhaps even after then, you will still need an additional good healer because the raid requires more than 1 good healer. Some good options for healing before you get Karen include Adventurer Shay, Alina's Sword Henry, and Nestra's Disciple Melissa, the rare version of Melissa. Some good options for healing, for off healing, for good healers but not great ones, include the Pilgrim of Light Melissa that they give you for free, the Alchemist Ian. He's more of a support character with a buff, a decent buff right here. Increases damage dealt by allies, and then he also decreases damage dealt by the target by a large amount for 20 seconds. But his healing is not that great. He needs his ultimate to even have a decent heal. But somebody who's worth mentioning that has decent off healing while also providing good buffs to the team is Heavenly Voice Serena with her passive, where she recovers the HP of all allies by 82% of her attack every time she uses a skill. That being said, you should build full attack on her to take advantage of that. But cooldown on skills is also a good choice. And now we come to the last tip of this video. Who to build as your final 2 heroes that will stay in your core PvE and possibly even PvP team while switching out the other 2 spots for all the suppression and resistance heroes you will need. Well, I suggest, because the 8 heroes you'll be building to counter the bosses already have a lot of good options for tanks or tanky bruisers who give themselves shields or even heal themselves, I suggest building a good healer, such as one of the 3 I mentioned if you don't have Karen, and a solid damage dealer that stays in your team. You can focus most of your resources on this main damage dealer. For me, it's the very nice legendary that I pulled when I was re-rolling, and I eventually decided to stick with this account. You will focus most of your resources on this main damage dealer and use them in your party raids, where you can only take and control one hero. This hero needs to have the most combat power out of all of your heroes, so you can meet the CP requirements for higher tier party raids. Right now I'm leveling up my Rachel, so she has my Yonhee's gear. I might switch to having Rachel as my main DPS because she does a lot more boss damage single target than Yonhee does. Your options for a good damage dealer will be, of course, any of the Premier, Amazing, Meta, Legendary Plus damage dealers you manage to summon. Otherwise, if you're not lucky, then I suggest using a rare hero selector ticket to get the rare version of Lyn, Elena's sword Lyn. She has one of the most amazing skill kits for buffing the damage of the entire team. Also, she has a skill with a 5-second or longer complete damage immunity self buff that is an absolute lifesaver when doing party raids, when the person who could have suppressed the raid boss's ultimate fails to do so, or the team doesn't even have the right suppression ability for that boss. You can keep the game on manual play and not auto to time this damage immunity self buff during the enemy boss ultimate. It's basically the best guarantee you're going to have access to. That means you can ignore the raid boss ultimates during party raids, while also bringing a hero to the team that buffs everyone's damage. If you build her on full crit rate gear so she stacks her passive ability on the bosses quickly, you'll be good to go. And that does it for this guide on who you should focus building first, to progress the fastest and the easiest in 7 Nights 2. Thank you all for watching. A big thank you goes out to everyone who likes the video and subscribes to the channel. It helps so much, and I appreciate it. However, an especially big thank you goes out to everyone who comments in the comments section below. I'm not much of a streamer yet, so the only way I can interact with you all is by responding to comments. I love reading everyone's comments, good or bad, and responding to you all. So please comment. Absolutely anything you feel like, good or bad, or even about the video or not. Trust me, I'll do my absolute best to read everything you write, and I'll respond. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.